What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today we're going to continue with the fundamental series I talked about. So last week I kind of just talked about the nature of fundamentals, what I think it means for fighting games and such, and also offense, because I think offense is the easiest part of this to build out. It's the easiest to practice. The situations are mostly clear-cut. You could build them out in training mode. Some of them are very one-sided, like sometimes the opponent doesn't have anything they could do, they could just have to take your offense, whatever. So that's kind of the easiest to practice and understand. So next we will talk about defense. So defense is weird for a couple of reasons. So of course, it's just you're blocking offense, right? Oh, he's ready to spark. He's like, get off me. Okay. So of course, you're on the receiving end of this offense. Whatever. It could be like auto combo mix-ups. It could be someone setting up Dragon Rush, whatever. The thing about defense that you need to understand, there's a couple of main things. One is that your main goal isn't necessarily to hit the other person. Not like with offense. With offense, in the end, your goal is to hit the other person. But on defense, your goal is not to hit the other person, which might sound a little bit weird. Because you might think like, okay, this guy's rushing me down, Team Gohan's rushing me down, I need to find a way to counterattack and take my turn. But your goal on defense is just to leave defense. It's not necessarily to hit the other person. So you can consider tools like jumping, reflect, backstep. There's a lot of defensive options you have available. Now, the other thing you need to understand about defense is your other goal is to establish the fact that certain things won't work on you. That is what will make offense hard for your opponent. Ideally, your opponent needs to use either 50-50s or some type of trick to like hit you, something that you're not familiar with. Like I play Team Gohan right here, so he has a pretty fast cross-up, right? So I would put that in the line of like something you might not be ready for. Ideally, it should just be like buttons, auto combo, assist, high-low should be the only thing that hits you, ideally. You want to establish the fact that like a lot of 6M doesn't hit you, or like bad Dragon Rushes, like I shouldn't say bad Dragon Rushes, but stray Dragon Rushes won't hit you, etc. So what do we have at our disposal to deal with the opponent's offense? So let's think about the game of Dragon Ball in general. So I have repeated many times that Dragon Ball overall has weak mix-up, right? Sounds weird, but generally characters on their own don't have good mix-ups in the game. That's point number one. Point number two is a lot of moves in the game are unsafe on block, or I should say unsafe. They are not advantageous on block. So their moves are safe, like this is standing medium, this is safe, but it's not plus, right? It's not plus. That's a big part of the game too. So defense then is identifying what characters the opponent has, how strong the actual mix-up is, and applying it by character, right? So you will have, let's say, actually let's look at my team. So you have Team Gohan and Beam. So you know that like GT can do assists with both assists, Team Gohan can do mix-ups with both assists, and SJ Goku can do like okay stuff with both assists, right? If they're playing something like something Yamcha, you know that Yamcha is giving the other characters really good offense. Now, if they're playing something like, let's say, so we have Bardock, Goku, GT Trunks here, right? So let's say they're playing something like, let's say they're playing this, maybe let's add Goku, and just as an example, so if they're running a squad like this, especially in this order, you know that the offense won't be that strong. unless Gotenks assist is there. If they play Kid Buu assist, you know they're trying to catch you blocking, so they can use Kid Buu to mix you up. Okay. Using that knowledge, like looking at their characters and seeing what they have, that will prepare you for what type of offense they have. For example, Gotenks here, you know, he has stuff, right? He has snaps, for example. Everyone has knockdown setups, but when he just touches you, like when he touches you, how's he gonna hit you? Like this mix-up, for example, this good old season 1 mix-up is much weaker than it used to be, right? How is it going to actually hit you? If they're playing something where the mix-up is not strong, you can identify based on the characters, hey, they can't really hit me without overextending or doing some trick, then you should defend one way. If they have, instead, like Zamasu out here, and they do like this, and then they make you block, then you have to think, okay, I have to defend a different way. Let's start with, what do you do when they have, let's say, not strong mix-ups, right? So defensive techniques aside, one, consider that you don't have to take your turn, like do stuff. You can see what kind of things they like to do. I say they might not necessarily get strong mix-ups here because Zamasu assist specifically doesn't have a lot of block stun. It's 22 frames block stun. You can't do a lot with 22 frames block stun. Let's say that, like I said, at Team Guan is a tall character, right? I wouldn't be able to do like into like a fuzzy setup. You wouldn't be able to do that. There's just not enough block stun to work with. Same with like here, you could probably do something. Of course, Gotenks can't, but maybe another character could with 30 frames block stun on a tall character. Let's say you play like a Cooler or something, but you may not necessarily have time to set it up. They may not necessarily have time to set it up, as opposed to if they have a Yamcha on there where it would be trivial because Yamcha has so much block stun. So against people using low blocks and assist, you can kind of sit there. You'd have to prep for plus on block Dragon Rushes and also watch system here. Those would be probably the primary ways people will aim to hit you. Also mid screen, you can expect a little bit more. Maybe same side super dashes, cross up attempts. Stuff like that, because they don't have a lot to work with. They just don't have the block stun, and moves are minus on block in this game, so they don't have the advantage to work with. You can kind of sit there, eyeball things, and then try to take your turn when they use their assists. Now, if they have a very advantageous assist like Gotenks. Now, personally, what you should try to do, besides avoid the situation at all costs, because that's like serious mix-up, is hopefully you have some resources available to help you. So, excuse me. So, example, let's say this. Check you better than that. Okay, so this is a pretty rough. Okay, right? Pretty rough. And we're gonna assume that, okay, lucky. Let's pretend it's not 2Hable, right? So the safest way to escape here would be to guard cancel. Right? This is probably the safest way out. Not guaranteed, but the safest way out, right? Mix-ups are usually weakened / negated by guard cancel. What kind of things stop you from using guard cancel? Because of course there would be counters, right? So let's get a good example. Our enemy, Kid Buu. I'm picking Kid Buu because he's really good at this, of course, right? Imagine a top tier character being good at stopping a defensive option. But anyway, so let's build out this next situation. So let's do, yeah, like that. Whoops. Wow, you can't do it to monster assist. The more you learn. Keep doing it too soon. Imagine being... Oh, you got calm soon, okay. There we go. So I'll just run up. As you can tell, it's been a while since I played him. Okay. Right? So, a character like this, like Kibu, so what he can do... So yeah, I smoked it there, right? But what he could do, actually, is... During his multi-hitting normal, he can hit your guard cancel. That's why they want to set it up off the guard cancel. You'd have to... That's why they want to set up the orb off this normal, because they want to stop you from guard canceling. So what do you do? What do you do then? You'd have to specifically wait for the ball to guard cancel out, specifically. Defense is a lot about... And actually, let's get Kibu on here too, so I can actually set it up too. So defense in these cases is a lot about research. So you'd have to like know what offense is available. The less you know, the less you can reference to influence your defensive choices. The game gives you strong defensive tools. I know. I mean, this week I made 2 videos about defense already, so this is technically the 3rd video I made about defense. So, the game gives you strong defensive tools. I've said it many times, but the main thing is that the risk return of a lot of these tools are pretty high, like in both ways. So the risk is high, like and the return is high. The game doesn't really give you a lot of tools that are just like safe and like low risk. Like the probably lowest risk thing you can do is stuff like block stun spark or something like that. So the more you research the game, the more informed choices you can make about defense. Now the type of choices you want to make, so one thing about this game is that there are not that many like guarantees on offense or defense. So a lot of times you can have a response to something, right? And I'm going to use Super Saiyan Goku as an example. So a lot of times you can have a response to something, and it could be pretty good, but the opponent can really call it out, and they can get a high return. So an example would be like, let's try something like this. So, okay. So in this example here, right? Come over here, Goku. Come here. Okay, you can backdash out of that, of course. Backdash is a totally legitimate option. But the opponent can do... They can just chase it. They can just chase it, right? Of course, you can do this, but all they would have to do is slightly delay a button, and then that game keeps going and going and going. So one tenet about defense you should understand is, since there's not a lot of absolute guarantees, like this always works in response to this, that you need to cycle your defensive options the same way your opponent should be cycling their options. You don't want to show your cards all the time, for lack of a better word, and you want to mix up what you do on defense. Despite understanding the situation and having a preference, which is fine, you want to make sure you have more than one way to get out of things. You want to maybe pick this every now and then, pick this, cycle your options. That's thing number 1 you should do. Number 2, another way to enforce defense is to learn OS guard. You should legitimately learn how to OS guard. It will help against team builds. Like let's say your opponent is just playing Point Super Saiyan Goku. It will really, really harden your defense, especially like if the character necessarily doesn't have very straightforward mix-ups. Like either the way they mix up is kind of hidden or like subtle or nuanced, then your opponent's basically going to be relying on this. So if you can OS guard very well, which is of course the blocking high, switch low technique that I've showed in other videos, right? If you can get this down, it will solidify your defense a lot and make it so they have to use 50-50s or mess with your OS guard timing, which, if you're not familiar with fighting that way of blocking, it's not even immediately obvious that you're doing it. Okay. On top of that, you should try to train against Dragon Rush some way. At least get used to the timing of teching with a button and pick like a couple of ways of doing it. Amongst like strong players of the game, I would say probably the easiest ways of teching would be teching with Dragon Rush, specifically teching with a button. Try using teching with Vanish, and also doing the what they call the 661 dash option select. So I'll do it right here. So that's what happens if they Dragon Rush. This is what happens if they pick something else. So let's say they do this, and then I cross you up. Well, keep it short. Imagine doing instant air dashes. Okay, that's fine. Right? So of course the only reason I pressed the button, the only reason I teched is because I saw the DR, so I hit them away. So that's 4 different ways you can defend against Dragon Rush. Dragon Rush is really hard to defend. This Dragon Rush is kind of the equalizer for teams that don't have outright strong mix-ups, because it's fast. The game here says it's 20. You can make it 19 frames depending on how you set it up. You can make it slower if you want. The tech window is kind of variable, you know, if you decide to tech with a button, right? Because the button's 7-frame tech window, if I recall correctly. And the threat is there because not only do they do damage and get meter, some characters get really high return off their Dragon Rushes. Like, I believe Kid Buu is actually one because he has a dive. So I didn't do the dive, but if you can combo into the dive, extend with Vanish. Characters like Bardock can easily bring characters to the ground, call an assist, and extend more. So their Dragon Rushes are scarier than other characters because they can do a lot of damage off it. So Dragon Rush is a big part of the game. If you have at least those 4 ways of defending against it, you're doing fine. Now again, the last thing is like if they have 50-50, so we talked about a bunch of stuff of if they don't have like strong mix-ups or something like that. If they do have 50-50s, like I said before, you have to try to use guard cancel or avoid that situation. So the last real thing would be solo character pressure, right? Kind of coming full circle here. So solo character pressure, again, this relies a lot on research, but the main thing of the game is most characters don't have plus frames. Most characters can't, if they have a move like this, so like Kid Buu's beam is fast, they nerfed this jail into Vanish. So most characters don't have moves that are plus on block. The things you have to watch out for are moves that put characters airborne, so like Kid Buu's 2S or the wheel. Moves that are outright plus, so in the case of say Super Saiyan Goku, right? So Super Saiyan Goku can jail into Vanish, right? Adult Gohan has like EX legs, that's plus. Teen Gohan has EX legs, that's plus. And that is essentially it. Oh, and do they have command grab? Forgot. Do they have a command grab, or do they have some type of special move designed to hit you, like Yamcha? Like Yamcha has a cross up that's designed to hit you. Now, when you're fighting a normal character, first it helps you know frame data, because if they do, so let's say this is -10. If they're doing this, then they're overextending. They're taking their turn. You don't have to press buttons. Like, you don't have to press buttons. But if you're doing that too much, you can punish, right? But again, you could go back to more simple responses for escaping. If they have some type of left-right, so Kid Buu has a pretty well-known one. He has this, which I messed up. But if they do have something like that, they have to overextend to do that, because the move is not safe. So the move is safe, but you have to assume something else is coming. they're going to be playing off your passiveness. So first, my suggestion would be to you have to really pay attention to the context they put you in and try to counter. So it's partly the character. So you know Kid Buu has the ability to do that. So you're aiming to, one, see if they even do it in the first place, and two, have something ready in case they try to do it. So someone like Kid Buu has that. Goku has, of course, Goku has the same side beam, which I messed up, which is amazing. There we go. So he has the same side beam. A bunch of characters have mix-ups like that. If they don't have something like that, then someone might rely on the same side super dash or something. Once they show you this and put it on the table, it's just there. So if you have something prepared, you should go to training mode and prepare counters for these type of things. Once they show it to you once, you should be ready to counter next time. You should have a hard counter, so something like this, and maybe a soft counter, like trying to jump out or react, because this actually is not that fast. So trying to either jump out or react to it, or just be ready for it. Okay, that was kind of a lot. I hope I said that in an organized way. Basically, defense is very research heavy. A lot of it is establishing the fact that, especially in this game, that random stuff won't hit you so often, and that they have to do true mix-ups to you, like snaps or high-low 50-50s and stuff like that. It depends a lot on what characters they're using. That's the biggest part, and what they have available. Do they have assist or not? Hopefully that makes sense. Leave any questions in the comments if you have any. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time.